All right, welcome back to another tutorial in Maya. Today, it's all about lava. So let's take a look at how to create some lava and give it a nice shader, something that, fits lava. Now remember, when you have lava, usually there's movement and there's variance in, your color intensities. There's fire, of course. There's oozing. There's all sorts of stuff that sort of go along with creating lava. Now, this is a final render, or just at least a starting render, and my values are up there. I'm in production quality, and it's taken about 32 seconds to render this scene, but I have some pretty high quality texturing going on here. So anyway, I'm going to try and stay away from rendering, and we're going to take a look at how to create a great looking lava shader like this. And, technically, let's take a look at the scene that I have built so far. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the beginning of the animation. And let's take a look at this. This is the fire effect. It's just the built-in procedural fire right here that I attached to a torus, and then I assigned a Lambert to that torus, and then just, made it totally transparent. So anyway, that's kind of how I did that. But notice how there's some color variance going on here that I've animated by just, switching up the ramp values for these colors in here. So that kind of adds an extra, depth to the animation. And naturally, you could use particles with a blobby surface and attach maybe the same kind of texturing to a blobby surface particle, and then get some particles that are oozing and stuff like that. But that's kind of a tutorial for another day. But today we just want to look at how to create a really great looking lava texture. And I'm going to put that on pause for a second here. And this tutorial essentially was inspired by not Lester Banks. However, you could go and check out Lester every day because he has killer stuff all the time, good stuff for your brain, and he's got a little store here where you can buy some t-shirts and stuff. Okay, but this tutorial, I actually learned a lot about lava from Michael Huber, from the folks over at Cogswell Polytech College. And so thank you, Michael, very much for teaching me this stuff, because it really helped out. And there you go. Okay, so that was the basis of this tutorial, at least a start. And I'm going to switch it up a little bit and show you a few more techniques. So, make sure you go, if you go to YouTube, you can find the lava shader tutorial at Cogswell Polytech College. So that's Michael's tutorial. Now, in this one, what I'm going to do is we're going to start in Photoshop, because mainly you want to find a texture that sort of has veining, and it has black and white, and it has values. But this in and of itself isn't really enough to start with. I mean, this obviously is going to be where we attach our color ramp and we get this coloring and these veining. But essentially we're going to switch it up a little bit, and I'm going to add a displacement map. Now you'll notice that this displacement map looks a little blurry, and that's kind of what you want. So, you're going to find a texture somewhere. I don't know. Go to Google and just look up, lava texture or cracking mud or something like that, and find an image that looks kind of like this, with some veins and some stuff like that. Because ultimately, we're going to just desaturate that, and then we're going to make a couple of other kinds of maps out of that in order to get, the effect we want for our lava. Okay? So I'm going to go back to the one we're going to be working with. And today, this is the texture I'm working with, this lava texture. And I made a number of different maps over here, and I'll sort of click on everything up at the top. Now we have the displacement map, which is blurred, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. But, that makes for a good displacement map, which we will need. The bump map is optional in this. You may want to make a bump map that's custom for this texture, but it's not needed. A specular map as well. I just made one just because, and you can notice that it's pretty dark around the dark areas, and the speculars are going to show up kind of where the brightest points are here. So that's that. And then there's our diffuse texture, which this is the one that we're going to use to attach the ramp to, and we have nice little splotches and stuff here where the color will show through. And let me show you a detail of that, a lot of times those little splotches will sort of end up in these transparent kind of areas. So, it's kind of cool to have a few of those in there. So keep that in mind, okay? And now we'll go to this displace example where, I want to make a texture that looks like that sort of to start with. So I'm going to come down to my example right here, and we're going to work with this. The first thing I may want to do is come up into the adjustments and just play with the levels here a little bit. So I'll go ahead and bring my dark value up here quite a bit, and I think I might make my brighter areas a little bit. So anyway, I'm just going to sort of start with something that looks like that, and we'll just do this at random. So that's cool. Now on this example right here, I want to add a filter, and in this case I'm going to come down and add a Gaussian filter. So if you go to your blur and come down into Gaussian blur, all right away that helped blur it out, which is cool. Mine's set at around 10 pixels, so I think I like the look of that. Let's just let's go with like say 13 or something, no big deal. So I'll hit OK. But remember that the lighter values are going to be positive, meaning these would be divots and impressions. So we really want to reverse this, okay? We want the white area to be out here and our black area to be in the veining. So I'll go ahead and make sure my layer is selected, and we're just going to go to image, and then just actually you can just do this with a command. Just go Command I. So make sure your layer is selected, hit Command I, and now that just inverts those values. Okay, so that's cool. That's the best way to start with making a displacement map. And I think what I might do is come in here to my adjustments again and play around with my levels. And in this time I'm going to bring my dark values way up, just so we get a nice displacement. And I'm going to hit OK, and there you go. So now you can just basically save this out as your displacement. I saved mine as a bitmap, I believe. So I could just go to Save As and then switch this up to a bitmap, whatever. This size of this is irrelevant, but 2048 by 2048 is cool if you want to work with a square. In this case, I just worked with whatever size this texture was, which if I come to image and go to image size, it's a fairly large, it's a fairly large image. So I'll just hit OK. All right, so you want to make yourself some textures like that in Photoshop, and this one is kind of critical. So there you go. All right, but let's go back to Maya, and let's see, where is Maya? We'll go to Photoshop. We'll hide Photoshop. There's Maya. Okay, so this I have in this scene, I believe I have this on a layer, so I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm going to start with this layer 2, and you can go ahead and do this for yourself. Go ahead and just create a plane, and I'm going to make a volcano really quick. So I'll go ahead and click on there. I have my plane at like 24 by 24. Let's see, what size is my plane? Give it some divisions here, 24, 24. So I just made mine square basically. So I'm going to go to the soft select tool here, and I'm going to give this some radius. Doesn't seem like. I'm going to turn on my lines there, and I'm going to pull this up, and this radius is at like 12%. You could do whatever you want. In this case, I think I might go with a fall off radius of about that, and I think I might go a little extra large. And there we go. So I'm going to select another point up here just at random, and I'm going to bring that down. Well, maybe not. Okay, well, here we go. I want to get sort of a good volcano look, so I think I'll just stay with that for this. We're just doing a test. So anyway, you have a plane. Go ahead and get off your soft select tool. I'm going to select that, and now what we want to do is we want to do some work in the hypershade. So I'm going to bring my hypershade over here, and we're going to grab a normal surface blend. Okay, so let's go with that blend 5. And to the color channel, I'm going to go ahead and select a 2D texture file, and that file is, let's go navigate to a folder. In this case, mine's in my Maya master, projects, default, images, and I had some lava textures here, and then I made some specially for the tutorial, which are these right here. So if I cruise over here, I have my bump map, I have a diffuse map, I have the specular map, and then I have my displacement map. Well, let's do this first. Let's just sort of assign this texture diffuse. This is just our diffuse with the black out here and the white in here. I'm going to go ahead and hit open. And I'm going to go ahead and let's sort of see our nodes here. And let's assign this blend 5. You can drag and drop over here on top of your plane. And there you go. And let's take a look at that. We'll do a quick render and see what that looks like. Okay, no big deal. We can see where we have our cracks and where they're going on the surface and everything, and that's cool. So let's stick with that for a minute, and let's just do the 2D way of setting up this texture, because there's two ways. You can do a 2D or a 3D. The 3D would be using a displacement map and converting some geometry. So let's just work with it like it is now. I'm going to select this file 9 and show you how remapping works. If you come over into your file here, underneath the effects section, you'll notice there's a color remap. Well, I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And when I do, you'll notice that it assigns a ramp over here to our volcano. So in the bottom, obviously, in our red section there, our color, we should be maybe down to a dark value. And then in here, in the green section, we probably want to switch that up to, like, say, a red. And in the very top blue, we want to maybe go to the higher highlight, which is like a really bright orange. Okay, so now you can see where we actually have, it looks kind of like lava now, but it needs a lot of adjusting. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save on that one, and we'll do a quick render and see what that looks like. Okay, so it's kind of looking like lava, but you'll notice that the material, because it's a blend, has some reflectivity in here, and there's some stuff to fix. So, you're going to do a lot of adjustments, and essentially, I'm going to go back here to the beginning. There's where I started with this whole experiment, and along the way, made a whole bunch of changes, and you can kind of see the progression of all of the refinement that you're going to need to do as you're sort of setting up one of these lava textures. Okay, so here I'm just adding some displacement maps and converting to, geometry, and then I'm adding a few other elements in, some bumps, and then finally we get to about what we want to see. Okay, so here's where we're at now. Let's go ahead and take a look again at what's going on in the hypershade. I'm going to select my blend right here and just regraph that network, and that basically straightens it out for me. Well, let's grab this ramp that we just made, and we'll click on there, and come over to Edit, and come down and Duplicate Shading Network. And now, over here in the hypershade, you'll see where it basically duplicated exactly what was in this network, which is cool. Okay, so now we can use this new ramp that we created right here. And you'll notice that it says, well, mine says ramp 8. Yours will probably say ramp 2 or something like that. But I'm going to go ahead and select this and watch what happens when we do this. We're going to create a bump map on the surface here. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's selected. Middle mouse button, drag and drop on top of blend 5, and hit your bump map. Okay? Well, now we have some better looking stuff going on our render here. So we can take another quick render, and I'll go ahead and save that one, and we'll take another render. And these are going pretty quick because we're basically using just a procedural shading network without any real stuff going on. And, that's cool. And there it is. So it's about a 14-second render. We have a lot more stuff going on because we did that bump. Now remember, you can always come over here and change up the parameters of that bump. So let's see, here's our bump node. You can go ahead and switch your bump down to, say, maybe 0.250. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way. And there it is. So, essentially those are some parameters to play around with. Now, let's say that you don't like the looks of that. Well, really cool thing here. What we're going to do is grab a 2D fractal, just a regular fractal like this. And I'll put that down here. And if you select your main remap, number 1, in my case it's number 7, you'll notice that you want to select your bottom color down here, the black. And we can now remap or add this fractal right here. Let's see, I'm going to go back here, choose that. We're going to hover over this fractal and middle mouse button, click, drag, and drop on top of this selected color. Okay, so wow, what happened there? You'll notice that you got a lot more weird stuff going on here, but we have some more variance in the patterning here. So let's take a look at what just happened, and let's play around with that new fractal that we just added. I'm going to go ahead and select the fractal and come over into its properties. You'll see it in your tabs here, fractal 3. And you can lower the amplitude on it, change it up like that. You can bring your amplitude up. You can change your threshold levels for, whatever's happening in there. Okay, and we can do our ratio. We can add a little bit more. And you can see where, it's adding a lot more variance to the surface there. So I think what I'll do is stick with it somewhere kind of down in here. I don't know, it's all variable. But you'll notice that these lava kind of flows are on the positive side, and we may want to switch that up to a negative side. So right now we're kind of at a loss. Let's do a quick render. Gosh, I don't want to do as many renders as we're doing here, but I just want to show you the variance between what we have going on here. So now we have a lot of different, a lot of different texture variation in the top there, but it's way too bright, okay? So let's take a look at that real quick. Let's go to our fractal 3 here, and let's come down into the color balance and look at our color and our gain right here. I'm going to bring the gain of this way down. All right, sort of bring that way down. And I'm also going to bring down my default color. That sometimes helps a bit. So there we go. Now it's looking a little bit better, and it does look like lava. And we could probably do another quick render. And I'm going to try and stay away from rendering, but hey, it's a necessary evil, okay? So there you go. We have basically a 2D kind of thing going on. And, it might work, but in this case, I want to actually get some really good topology out of this so that this looks a lot better. So I'm going to click on there, and we'll take a view of what it looked like. Okay, so there it was before, there it is now, and I'm going to just leave it like that for a second. I'm going to come back over here into the hypershade, and I think I'll just clear my graph. And what I want to do is I'm going to start another material. So let's select a blend, another blend right there. And what we want to do is attach to the color channel. We'll click on there, come over to the 2D texture file. In this file, I'm going to assign one of these textures that I had from before, and I want to assign it that displacement, that blurry displacement that we were looking at. I'm going to go ahead and hit open, and there it is. So now what we want to do is create a displacement node. I'm going to click on displacement here, get our displacement node, which is right here, and I'm going to take this file and middle mouse button, drag and drop it on top of the displacement default, and then I want to click my blend 6 here. I actually want to graph that network because I need this shading group. I'm going to grab our displacement right here. I think that's the right one. And I want to take that displacement shader and drop it on top of the actual shading group and make a connection right there. And also, while I'm at this, I want to make sure that this is on alpha luminance is checked, because right now, while it's not checked, I'm going to go ahead and do a render. Let's do a render right here. We'll bring my render window back over. because luminance isn't checked, we're not really getting what we should be. It's still flat. So I'm going to go ahead and click. I'm going to go ahead and click alpha is luminance. Oh, but you know what? I made a mistake. First, I want to actually assign that new blend to this material. So let's do that. Assign existing material, and that was the last blend I created. Okay, so that technically is what we should have been working with. So let's do another render. You'll have to figure out the mistake I made there. I actually didn't assign that new material until, you know, I didn't actually assign that material to the object. So anyway, cool. Now we have something like a, you know, we've got our lava textural flow kind of semi-volcano right here, and that's cool. Okay, so let's take a look at what happened in the window over here. Well, it looks the same. So what we would really want to do now, because we have this network, I'm going to bring over the hypershade. Because we created this network, we can now come over here, select our plane, and go to Modify and Convert Displacement to Polygons. Okay, Maya's going to take a moment. It's going to think, and now it's going to give us that. It's going to give us that mesh, which is cool. That's what we wanted. So I'm going to take the one below it, the other one, and I'm just going to hide that. So we'll go to Display, Hide Selection. All right. Well, now we have actual real geography or topology. And in some cases, just to make it look better, I'll go ahead and select this and come up into your polygon menu set, make sure your mesh, and come down to smooth. And that'll take a minute and it'll smooth it out. So now we'll have kind of a better overall look for this. So I'm going to click off of there, and I'm also going to take off my lines there. Okay, so now let's work on establishing a shader for this. And because I have a lot of faces in there, I'm going to switch down to switch off a high quality rendering. And now we're going to assign the same thing, or sort of create a network to assign to here. So let's go back into our hypershade over here and take a look at what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and go to Graph, and I'm going to clear that graph. And if you recall, our last shader that we did was that Blend 5. And we were working with that and remapping some stuff. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and leave everything as is. And let's see what happens when I assign that Blend 5. I'm just going to middle mouse button, drag and drop it on top of our surface here. Well, there you go. We're getting some pretty good looking lava. Of course, I'm in low quality rendering. I'm going to switch back over into high quality and see if we can maneuver around. I got a lot of stuff going on in this scene, so it's starting to move a little slow. But I'm going to go ahead and just sort of leave it there for a moment. Let's take a quick render and see where we're at. All right, so we're getting some pretty good looks going on there. Let's see what happens on its final. So that's cool. All right, now we have like real indentations and real impressions with real lava channels and stuff like that. So this is a good starting point for what you're doing there. Now, let's kick it up a notch. Let's say we come back down here and let's look at our Blend 5. Let's graph those input-output connections. And this time, let's go ahead and select this remap 1. And I'm going to come over and go to Edit, and we're going to duplicate that system again. All right. And there it is. So let's take this new part, this new remap, and I'm going to activate it, drag and drop it, middle mouse button over on top of the blend, and we're going to go to incandescence. All right, and we're going to hook that up to the incandescence. And right away, you should see a little bit of a difference over here. You're going to have some more incandescent values. And I'm going to bring this down a little bit. And we're going to see it over here. So that was where that was my render view. So now with all this incandescence in here, that's pretty cool. You can see where by changing your ramp values on some of these, like if we go down here, it's running a little slow for me now because I have a lot going on. But you can see where changing these values will give you some variance in, you know, your overall lava look. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and come over here and I'm going to go save that. We'll do one more render. We'll kind of see what this is looking like as far as, you know, adding that incandescence. Okay, so there it is. Looking pretty good. All right. Now, let's also not forget that on this actual material over here, this actual blend, that you have a glow intensity, and we can go ahead and maybe give it a little bit of glow. I'm going to bring this down here and we'll sort of bring our glow up a little bit. And there will be at, like, say 0.2. I'm going to bring my render view over here and we're going to render another one. And this is the necessary evil of doing this. You have to see this in progress in order to get it. So anyway, sorry for the extra long tutorial. And this is just the start, so there you go. So now that's like way too much glow. But let's examine this glow for a second. Where's that coming from and what is happening there? Well, we don't really want it to glow that much. So don't forget that you have this shader glow node in here. And if you click on that, I'm going to move my render view out of the way. If you click on your shader glow, you're going to get attributes here. And we have what's known as the threshold right here. So maybe what I could do is just take this threshold up a bit. I'm going to sort of just take it up to there. And we'll see what happens over here on another render. I'm going to go ahead and hit render. And you could be using your interactive rendering for doing stuff like this. Right now I'm just sort of handicapped. Alright, so let's see what happens there. Alright, so you can see we're raising that threshold, cut down, you know, the glow. So you might want to come down into your glow attributes and, you know, give it a little bit more intensity or whatnot and start playing around with these values quite a bit. Alright, so let's take one last look at another thing you can do. Let's go back to our original ramp right here. And in order to animate this, I'm going to go back to the start of the animation at frame 1. And I want to look at this selected position, and I'm going to basically choose one of these colors, like say this red right here. I'm going to bring this red up a little bit. And we'll just do an extreme. I'll go like way up here. Okay. So I'm at frame 1. I'm going to go ahead and animate this by selecting that position, set key, and then I might want to come up here a little bit into the animation to, let's say, like frame 80 or something like that. Right in there. And I might want to change up this position of this. I might want to come back down to, say, here, like there. Okay? And I'll go ahead and I'm going to set a key right there. Alright, and we'll go back to the beginning of the animation here and play it. And you're going to notice a difference, and a lot of times it's by playing around with, well, you're not noticing that much of a difference here, but it's that technique that will cause changes in the overall coloring of your lava in here. Okay? So there you go. I think that's enough for this tutorial. You know, there's a lot more involved, of course, but those are sort of like the basics that you might want to keep in mind. And play around with that for a couple of days. And I know I'm going to get a lot of questions on this, so I don't know. Hopefully you'll work your way through it. And there you go. Okay, so hey, thanks for watching, and as always, be a really good person. All right, the world depends on it. and read a book because it'll make you smart, and come back and watch tutorials with me all the time. There you go. So thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Over and out.